All right, what's good? Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do a castaway. All right, so before I get on to actually telling you how to do a castaway, there's a couple prerequisites. First thing you got to know how to do is at least a backflip. Second thing I would say is a palm flip, that way you can get used to the feeling of flipping close to a wall. And number 3 is a Cody on a trampoline. So if you can do all 3 of those tricks, let's get on to learning how to do a castaway. First thing I'm gonna go over is where you're gonna place your hands on the wall you're castawaying. Okay, so there's a couple techniques you can use for castaways where your hands are gonna be in different positions. For me personally, now this isn't a required way to do it, this is just what I like to do. I like to have my thumbs hanging off the edge of the wall when I do this trick because for me, it gives me more control of whether I'm gonna push straight up or push straight back or get that perfect push. So I like to have my thumbs hanging off so I have more control. Some people like to put their entire hand on top of the wall like this. For me, that doesn't feel as controlled, but it's not wrong. You can do it like that. So like I said, the way I like to have my hands is my 4 fingers on top and my thumb hanging off the side. And that puts the wall in a little crevice in between your hand like this. Now, the next part for your hands is how far apart they should be. You do not want them too close like this. If your thumbs are close together, that's not good. You're not gonna feel any push. You're just gonna feel tight and you're not gonna get a good castaway. If your hands are too wide, that's also not good because once again, you're not gonna get as much push as you can get if your hands are in the right spot. So the right spot is shoulder width apart. So as you can kind of see, I don't have very good angles right now. My hands are directly in front of my shoulders. For me, that's my favorite spot to put my hands for castaways. Now the next step is getting up and onto the wall and getting ready to actually do the castaway. So, like I said, your hands are gonna be shoulder width apart and you can have your thumbs over or not over, it's up to you. I like them over. So I'm gonna put my hands on the wall. I'm gonna hop up, and once you're up, you wanna be slightly leaning over the wall. You don't wanna be straight up and down, and you don't wanna be all the way leaned over. Both of those are not going to help you. So you're gonna have a slight lean over the wall, that way your center of gravity is not making you fall over. Now another thing is make sure you do not have your arms completely straight or bent in really tight. You wanna have your arms at a slight bend to where you can feel like you can push off of the wall. If you're down too low, it's gonna take a lot of strength to be able to push yourself all the way off in time to do a castaway. And if your arms are straight, you can't really push, you just have shoulders, but you're not gonna be able to do a cast like that. So as you can see, I'm slightly leaned over the wall, my arms are slightly bent, and I'm ready to do a cast. So let's get on to the next step. All right, the next step is the actual cast technique. So when you're doing castaway, having strong arms and being able to push is good, but all of your momentum and all of your flip is gonna come mostly from your legs. So once you get up into the cast position that I just told you about, now when you're leaning over, I want you to push up with your arms and bring both of your legs back just like this at the exact same time. So what that is gonna create is what I call the C shape, because your back and legs are gonna be shaped kind of in a C. So your back is gonna be slightly arched. Now I don't want you trying to lean back with your head. Keep your head facing forward the whole time. Have a slight arch in your back as your legs come up, making kind of a C shape. All right, so this next part is where knowing how to do a Cody comes in. So once you cast up into that C shape, now we're gonna work on doing the snap. What the snap is how you kick your legs and push with your arms at the same time to get the rotation and height you need for a castaway. And if you know how to do a Cody, you know that as you leave the trampoline and your legs are up, just like in a castaway where I told you to make the C shape, a Cody's just like that, where you're gonna be on the trampoline with your legs up behind you, and as you get ready to do the flip, you're throwing with your arms and kicking your legs straight as you leave the trampoline. On a castaway, it's the same thing. Once you're up on that wall, you get into the C shape. As you're pushing away from the wall, you're also kicking your legs straight as you let go of the wall. And as you kick your legs straight, you want to think about your legs almost coming under you. Don't quite throw them under you yet because you don't want to accidentally flip. We're just trying to get our legs slightly under us so we can start the feeling of rotation. Another thing I should mention is as you're leaving the wall and pushing away, you do not want to be pushing straight out and you don't want to be pushing straight up. If you push straight up, you have a better chance of hitting the wall, and if you push straight out, you're going to go straight back down, face plant into the ground, and it's not going to be fun. The way I like to think of it is almost going from the corner of the wall and pushing kind of diagonally, a little bit more up than out, but diagonally off of that wall. If you're pushing like that, you're gonna get that height you need to do a castaway, and you're also not gonna hit the wall or just go straight back and land on your face. Okay, now let's get on to actually rotating. Now that you know how to do a cast, let's learn how to do the away part. Haha, get it? That was a stupid joke. So just like you would do in a Cody, as you're getting ready to flip, you're almost waiting for your chest to get slightly back. Once your chest is back and you've already snapped and you're getting your legs under you, that's when you want to start pulling in that tuck. This is scary usually on your first time because it's probably a new trick if you're learning it in this video. And if you don't have access to a gym like this, it is definitely terrifying. But if you can already do backflips and Codys and palm flips and all of that, you should already know kind of how to commit to things and get over that fear. So don't rush it, take your time, go over the steps before, and then you can start to work on committing. Just be careful. Now, if you have some mats, you can work on doing this cast tech and landing on your back to feel out how it would feel to do the rotation. But if you don't have those, you're kind of out of luck and you just have to commit to this trick. Now, when you commit to your first castaway, something you might want to do is try and have your head tucked in once you actually start the rotation. Don't have it tucked in before because you might just look weird trying it. Just as you set and you grab your knees and you're getting ready to flip, have your chin tucked in just in case, because if you don't get the right push, you want to try and protect your head from hitting that wall. So I'd say that's a good safety tip. It's not required, but if you're scared of hitting your head, tuck your chin in. Alright, so now if you've learned that castaway and you want to take it to the next step, I'm going to show you some quick tips on some variations of castaways. Variation number 1 is going to be a pop cast. So the difference in this trick compared to a normal castaway is, as you can tell, you're jumping to your hands and not starting leaning over the wall. Now, pop cast isn't too much harder than a normal castaway. I'd say it's just scarier. All you need to focus on is as you jump up, you get into that chest positioning where you're leaning over the wall, just like you did in the beginning, but you're up on your hands already. So it's gonna happen a lot quicker. Once you get up into that position, you wanna get into that C shape as soon as possible while your hands are on the wall and work on that kick and push. Just like in the normal cast, you can practice this by jumping up to the wall, doing the cast tech, and not trying to flip. And other than that, it's mostly the same as committing to a normal castaway. Alright, so this next one is called a tack cast. Now this one is almost the exact same as a pop cast. The only difference is you're running up to the wall, planting a foot on the wall, and then getting to your hands and doing the cast. The only tip I have for this one is making sure the foot you're planting on the wall is low on the wall. If you have it up high, you're not going to get your legs up behind you in time and you're not going to be able to do a nice looking cast. So put that foot low so you can use it to ride up the wall. Alright, now let's get on to some of the harder variations using this wall. Alright, I'm currently sitting in the foam pit for this part. So the next variation is going to be a castaway layout. So, for this one, if you know how to do obviously a castaway and a Cody layout, then you can easily do this trick. First of all, I suggest a fairly high wall because low walls, this trick is very hard. But off a high wall, it's fairly doable for most people if you can cast away and do a Cody layout. So if you're up on a higher wall, it's usually a little harder to get into the cast position. On a low wall, you can just hop up to your hands and do a castaway. But on these higher walls, you actually have to dangle your feet down and get ready to go. So that's just one thing you got to get used to. Now, just like the castaway, you're going to do the same exact technique of the push and everything, kicking your legs, making the C shape. But as soon as you cast and you start to bring your knees over your head, you are going to bring your chest back and try and open up your hips into a layout position. And just like a Cody layout, you wait until you get almost upside down before you start to lay out. If you lay out too early, you're going to get zero rotation. You want to wait, get your chest back, and then start to pull that layout. Okay, so the final castaway variation I'm going to give you tips on is a castaway full. Now, this is obviously the hardest of all of them, and I still struggle with it today, but I know how it works, so I'm going to tell you what I know. So the first step, you could probably guess, is knowing how to do a Cody full. is you can see all of these Castaway things come from Cody's. If you don't know how to do Cody's, well, you can still learn it, it's just a little harder. So, first things first, you should already know how to do the Castaway layout before you try this. Castaway lay is gonna help the most with knowing how much time you have to do the full. So if you got that cast layout down, now you're ready to try the cast full. So just like the Cody full, you're gonna wait until your body starts to come back, and as your body comes back, then you're gonna pull that twist over. Now, if you twist left, you're gonna use your right arm to drive, and your left arm is gonna come down. Your left arm coming down is gonna help you with getting that rotation and that flip you need, and your right arm is gonna help you with the twist. Now, once again, I'm gonna say it again, because rushing it is the biggest problem with cast fulls. Wait until both your hands have left the wall, and you start to rotate into a castaway. If you do it too early, you are not gonna get any flip, and you are going to land on your face. So wait until you start to come back, you've left the wall, and now you're gonna pull over. Now make sure as you pull over, you don't wanna be too laid out, and you don't wanna be too tucked in. You wanna have a nice bend in your knees and be tight. You don't wanna be super loose in the air. And that is basically it. If you can do a Cody full or a back full, you know how that feels, and it's the same thing. Once you're in the air, spot that full, and try and land on your feet. And that is basically it for the Castaway tutorial and some other little variations of Castaways. So thanks for watching. If you want to see more tutorials from me, leave what trick you want me to do a tutorial on in the comments, and I'll try and pick one, and maybe next week I'll do another tutorial. So thanks for watching. Peace. Also, before I go, thank you to Jaden Harris for giving me the idea to do the Castaway tutorial. I posted on my Instagram saying for people to give me tutorial ideas, and I chose his because I like Castaways. So thanks, Jaden. Peace.